Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard.
Good old Norma Desmond.
Yeah, I guess, we were supposed to be doing little plot summaries, right? Everyone knows what Cinderella is.
Cinderella.
We don't need to do Cinderella,
yeah.
but Sunset Boulevard is a film about it's a down on his luck, like screenwriter who kind of bumbles into this kind of decrepit mansion of this person he finds out is someone who used to be a giant star in the silent film era and has kind of receded into her rich solitary life and has a bit of like a whole weird thing going on that we can talk about later. But eventually he just kind of becomes closer and closer ingrained into her life, and she kind of gets him under her thumb in a way. And it's about him sort of helping her out with her script that is supposed to be her comeback to the screen, and also her kind of growing control over him. Ending as with a framing ending of wrapping back to the beginning of him dead in a pool.
Yeah, what a way to open a movie is like the narrator, who is the screenwriter, is like, a story begins with a murder, and it's like we see the police showing up, and then it's like, that's me. I'm the dead guy.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Basically, like, it doesn't say that line, but that's sort of how it is. But then it's...
Yeah, this was before record scratches, so it might have been...
100% not before record scratches. It's very much the era of record scratches, I would say.
A little, yeah, I don't know, what would be the equivalent?
Maybe not the era of record scratches, because they weren't being used in songs, but records were getting scratched.
Yeah. I will not buy this record. It is scratched.
I love the opening, the way this movie opens.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just like there's that incredible shot of like from inside the pool, looking up at his floating corpse as like the police are photographing it.
Yeah, Billy Wilder, by the way, director who is responsible for that cool shot, I guess. Cinematographer as well, but
Billy Wilder, good at his job.
Yeah. What to say about this movie?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Yeah, it's like, oh, where to start?
Yeah. I was seeing a lot of these movies for the first time. You'd seen almost all of them before.
I've seen a lot of them for this year. Yeah.
This is definitely one of those big classics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's so much going on. I don't even know where to start with this.
Well, I mean, I guess a big part of this movie is the casting of
Gloria Swanson.
Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond, because Gloria Swanson was an actual star during the silent era and is now playing a sort of very dark, twisted version of herself. Of this like faded, bitter, silent movie star who is like crazy wealthy. Mm-hmm. Like absurdly wealthy in a way that like
kind of calling back to the sort of excesses of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And like she's living in like the shell of those excesses.
Yeah. But it's like this movie feels so kind of built around that casting.
Yeah.
This character is certainly not the actual actress playing her, but is like the fact that they cast an actual silent film star is like the whole reason why this movie works.
And yeah, it is stunningly meta, right? Like so much of this movie, when you're watching it you are being aware of the fact that like this is a real silent star. Mm-hmm. A lot of this movie is about like the kind of psychological position of somebody who was a star, then stopped being one for a while, but like is still kind of remembering that time, right? I mean, honestly, like it's for Gloria Swanson to take that role is pretty brave,
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it's like in ways it's not flattering, but it is also referencing back to a lot of like the real struggles that a person like that might experience, especially a woman like that,
Yeah.
But along the meta angle, like we also have Cecil B. DeMille in this movie playing himself.
Mm-hmm. Like literally playing himself.
Yeah, which is another really like there's so much like the fake world of this movie is so closely tied in with the real world of reality. you could just kind of think of Norma Desmond as a silent star that we just never heard of. And it could be real, you know? Because we have a Buster Keaton cameo in this. A jump scare Buster Keaton is how I felt when I feel like I read that he was in this before I saw it. And then when I saw him, I was like, whoa.
I mean, it is kind of treated a little bit as like a surprise. In the movie. It's like, hey, check it out, Buster Keaton.
I'm surprised that a guy, you know, who made movies that light would want to be in a movie this dark, you know.
I get the sense Buster Keaton had a bit of a dark streak. There's some dark jokes in his movies.
Yeah. And then, of course, Eric von Stroheim playing, like, her, like, butler, I guess.
Yeah. Manservant.
But he also is playing someone who used to be a director, which he also used to be.
Yeah. And who directed movies with Gloria Swanson.
And we see a clip from a film that Norma Desmond, quote unquote, was in, a silent film that her butler directed, and it was a film that Eric von Stroheim directed. Gloria Swanson in. It is so wrapped up in reality in really interesting ways, and like we haven't seen a lot of stuff like be this, you know, postmodern, this meta, you know.
Yeah. It's also, I thought, I was kind of struck watching it. I think this comes from, like, you know, hindsight looking back on history, but, like, you know, we don't necessarily think of, like, the 20s and the 50s being as much, like, there being that much, it's like, oh, olden times.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, this movie really puts into perspective, like, the 20s were a while ago.
Yeah.
And
which thankfully, you know, doing this, we can kind of feel the
you can feel the actual length of time a bit better. But that I did think that was interesting how it is like this movie set when it came out in 1950, and it is like, oh yeah, silent movies. That's like so long ago.
Yeah,
I mean it's still recent enough in 1950 that it's in living memory. Like there are still silent movie stars that are alive and are not. Gloria Swanson is like, what, 50 something in this? She's not even that old.
Right. I mean, also, like, Lord of the Rings came out that long ago relative to now. You know, it's not like it's that far away.
Yeah, but it was, I think, watching it for this show, it made me kind of think of that. This movie's, I guess, sort of relationship with 1920s, like, silent movies, looking back on it.
Well, Singing in the Rain's coming up in a couple of years, and it's doing the same sort of thing, too.
It's the 30-year cycle.
Yeah.
Even though the character of Norma Desmond is pretty villainous, I think this movie has a lot of sympathy for the silent era, just kind of in general, and also because like Norma Desmond has so much dialogue. She's often complaining about like movies today are shit. Like back in the silent days, we made real movies. Like she has the line that I love, which is like, we didn't need words, we had faces. And then she makes a face, and it's like, yeah, like she's not wrong. And like there is something from watching all of the silent movies that we did, and now watching 50s movies. I'm like, yeah, there is something missing.
Yeah, it's a different art form for sure. I think that Singing in the Rain is taking a more kind of comedic approach to the kinds of people who couldn't make the transition to sound, and this is taking a bit more of a tragic approach to it.
Also, yeah, just like what a performance Gloria Swanson gives.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the face that she makes, right?
She does a lot of. She's going big.
I think that's so interesting because
the character is performing and is a big performer.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, blending life and performance, certainly, but also just like she was a silent star. What makes a silent star good is their ability to emote in a big way.
Their expressiveness.
Yeah, like without being able to use words. We didn't have words, we had faces. And so like her acting is really big and really dramatic in this, and she sticks out like a sore thumb amongst everybody else in this movie. People are like she's acting really weird, but she's like the kind of person that would make a good silent movie actor. Also
the kind of person who is this like slightly kind of gone to seed performer who's, you know, stuck in her glory days, and it is the character is performing in most scenes, right? Like she is being very quotes, dramatic.
She is a celebrity. She is an actor.
Yeah.
And it kind of
but it
is
like
acting with this awareness of the performance that she has to do to, continue on, basically. A lot of this movie concerns like these illusions that she has about the way that the world is, right? About like Cecil B. DeMille kind of having to like let her down easy because like she thinks that like, oh, I'm so cool and powerful, that of course everyone's gonna love my comeback. And then you find out that like that her butler is the one like writing all of her fake fan letters, that nobody cares anymore. She's like being propped up by all of this fakeness around her. Her mansion looks like it should have been lively, but like the pool like has nothing in it, It's like everything's falling apart and decaying, and it's like, reflecting what's going on in her.
Yeah.
But again, like there's a lot of sympathy that you have because I mean, there is a lot of overlap between like thematically between this movie and All About Eve, which we're going to talk about next. But like the biggest part of that thematic overlap is like how women are treated as they get older.
In specifically like in showbiz.
Yeah. And I think this movie's really like, you see how broken and sad she is. There are a couple points in this movie where she tries to kill herself, Yeah.
And like, it's genuinely sad.
Yeah. Like, she's not like an out and out villain.
No.
Like she's a person who manipulates and abuses other people, but she does it like you can see because out of like how hurt she is.
Yeah, she is broken.
Yeah.
The character exists in such a way in this movie where Gloria Swanson can give a like very heightened, expressive silent movie-esque performance in a sound movie, and it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah, although the people laughing in the screening that we were going to, I was like, I get that she's big. I get that she's going big, but like it's not fully funny,
It gets close. Like there are
I think it goes up to the line, but it doesn't necessarily cross it. I think it's a campiness that you can appreciate, but not like think that it's not take it seriously.
Because I feel like even the main character is sort of, he's not laughing at her, but you can see his sort of like amusement of like, oh boy, this crazy lady.
Yeah. There's like a lot of, modern psychological language that you could use to apply to her. I was kind of summing this movie up to people I was telling about it. It's just like the experience of having a BPD sugar mama,
Not inaccurate.
And and I think that's like another angle of this, right, that we can kind of go into is the sugar mama part of it, where like she is exerting control. She finds somebody, she cycles through husbands, and she finds somebody who she wants to make her next one, and she recognizes that she has this like economic power over him, and he kind of pretty quickly sort of hates his existence living in her house, having to like do everything exactly the way that she wants, but like she's providing for him. She's buying him all of these things he doesn't even want.
Yeah, and he's broke. His car is getting repossessed. Like the only reason why they meet in the first place is because he pulls into her driveway to get away from the like repo men who are trying to take his car. And initially he's like, oh, this crazy lady, like is really like pay me money to rewrite her terrible script. Sure. He sort of thinks that he's taking advantage of her. In the beginning, and then the sort of power dynamic starts to shift where it is like he starts to realize how much he is sort of like under her thrall, sort of,
and he gets stuck because she gets so emotionally involved with him before he even realizes how much she does, that like when he tries to leave, when he goes like, this is too much for me, I don't need to do this anymore, she attempts suicide. And like that compels him to come back again.
Yeah.
It's very, it's not something that she's doing on purpose, but it's like manipulative,
I would argue that she might be doing it on purpose.
I mean, I think she knows what she's doing, but I think that she just seems like a pretty like unstable and impulsive person.
Sure.
Who like, she probably did want to kill herself,
Mm-hmm.
But like she also knew
Right.
that
It wasn't.
if she
It wasn't
tried,
entirely manipulation. But,
she also knew that if she tried, then she might be able to reel him back in.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily the first time that she's done that to someone.
I think, it pretty much says that it's not the first time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think Eric von Stroheim says that at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think this movie also is like simultaneously kind of romantic about like the notion of Hollywood, and also like very, I don't know if cynical is really the right word, but it is like, this is very much a like Hollywood will fuck you up.
It'll chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
While still also retaining that like, old, like, it's funny to watch a movie from 1950 that's like, old Hollywood.
Yeah. Don't you miss those times in the Damien Chazelle film Babylon?
Right, because I think, isn't the like, not post credits, but the sort of like epilogue scene in Babylon set around 1950? Oh no, I guess that's set in 50 whatever when Singing in the Rain comes out. I like how the movie is simultaneously being like, movies are great, we love working in the picture biz, and also being like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because like the what's the main character's name? Right, is like, he's trying to get work.
It's Joe Gills.
Trying to get work as a screenwriter, and it's just like no one's biting. He can't get steady work.
Joe Gillis.
Gillis.
Yeah. He's not a fish.
It's like, can't get steady work in the film biz. Don't know what that feels like.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Now we need a sad movie about a projectionist.
Yeah. Both of it exists in sort of both camps simultaneously, of like, sort of, I mean, kind of in a similar way, I guess, to Babylon, in that it is
a lot of Hollywood stories. I feel like,
right? But I think that's just kind of a universal kind of like artist's perspective on Hollywood, is sort of like, when it's great, damn, what a place, what a community, all
high
that
highs,
stuff.
low lows. Kind of thing.
But like, dang, the like corruption and the sort of like corporate, like money grubbing, like controlling business side of it is like, has always kind of been soul crushing.
And this movie also like highlights that there are some people who really thrive in this system, or at least got lucky and thrive, like Cecil B. DeMille. I think he's like such an interesting parallel character to Norma Desmond, because he's someone who successfully went from the silent era to the sound to now, and he's like, everyone thinks he's a big deal, everyone loves him, and like, he has some sympathy for her. He used to make movies with her, right? But like, he was somebody who had to leave the old era and everybody else with him behind, and he's just a slicked up Hollywood guy now, in a way, It's also like not a super sympathetic look at him.
Right, because he's the one, I guess Buster Keaton, he's never named, but it's like, it's a kind of assumed that he's playing himself. Whereas Cecil B. DeMille is just, he's playing exactly himself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like a self-deprecating performance, but it is.
It's complex, but it's like, it's not like lionizing, you know? I mean, it is like, maybe this is exactly what kind of needed to exist in a person to be able to, continue to be in Hollywood, right? To thrive in Hollywood, you have to be a certain Hollywood type, and somebody who flames out and is a diva, or like in the kind of operatic sense, like, is someone who maybe has a big moment and then falls again. But to be able to like persist in Hollywood, you need to be Cecil B. DeMille, whatever that implies, I guess.
The scene where she goes to the Paramount lot and visits DeMille on set, and it's like, all the people who work on the back lot are like, oh, Norman Desmond's here. Great. Like, love that gal.
Yeah.
So it is like, she's remembered well. She seemingly has like a good reputation with the crew, which is a good sign.
But she doesn't want to be, a memory, right?
Right. But like,
she wants
still, no one is willing to like make her terrible movie that she wants to make as a comeback.
She refuses to go gracefully, I guess.
Right. Because it is also, she's like, I have written this script by myself that is like the greatest thing ever written, and it's going to be my big comeback. And like, every single time another character looks at it, they're like, ooh, yikes. Like, this is bad. But yeah, it is like no one is really willing to just like say that to her face.
Right.
Which is also kind of like where her sort of like monstrousness comes from, I think, is that it's like no one is willing to sort of like tell her the truth. Like, she is kind of being her own like perception of herself is somewhat being mirrored back by everyone around her, especially the von Stroheim character.
Yeah, who kind of like he's her ex-husband.
Yeah,
and like he exists. His life has become
keeping her in a fantasy.
Exactly. Yeah. He like everything that he does is to keep her in her fantasy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, like he still loves her and he wants to, you know, he doesn't have the heart. Either he doesn't have the heart to let her face reality. He's seen what happens when she faces reality, or like he believes in her in a way that like other people don't. I guess.
Yeah.
And is willing to kind of lie in order to like outwardly just manufacture things to help her ego stay alive, basically.
Even as she's being arrested for murder. He's like, no, I'm gonna direct the newsreel cameras and like make it seem like a movie set.
Yeah, and like then she just has like a full break with reality.
Right. That's like there. I think post murdering of what's his Gillis.
Yeah.
Right. It's you get the sense like her brain is toast. Like at that point. Like she is completely has like a psychotic break where she is like fully living in the delusion of like, I am a movie star. Everyone loves me.
I'm a star.
Everywhere I go is a film set.
Yeah. It's a wild ending. It's like
I mean, you know, super famous
ending. Yeah. That was the thing where I'm like, I was a little bit seeing it with an audience. I was like, okay, like this is funny, but it's also sad and it's also kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like there were some people in the audience who were appreciating it as camp, you know?
I mean, I think this movie has, I don't know if I like know enough about the concept of camp to like really speak to this movie's relationship with it. Because I think there's a lot to say there probably. Yeah, I do think of this movie mostly, even though it is very funny, I would certainly lump it in as a noir movie. I think it usually is considered as such. And yeah, it has like horror vibes at times for sure, of like the sort of like the like decaying mansion, the sort of empty.
She is a bit of a vampire, right?
Yeah, she's like very Dracula-esque throughout the whole thing, which I don't think is like unintentional.
She sucks the blood out of young men,
and
then moves on to the next one.
All true. Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, like that last moment. Obviously, we're talking about like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
As he's given, you know, the crazy eyes, the big
crazy eyes right at the camera, right? Like that's another
an excuse for the movie to be like, you're performing this last line direct to camera, and it's like because we've set up there are cameras filming her, it works.
Yeah, we've set up so they, in a way, it's maybe hopping in diegetically into one of those cameras, right? Yeah. But also, like, there's so much meta stuff in this movie with Cecil B. DeMille playing himself and all that. Like, it just kind of slots right in with her, like, looking right at the camera, right? And, like, what happens when someone's looking at the camera? I mean, there's a bit of, like, we're talking to you audience, you know?
So, breaking the fourth wall a bit.
Yeah, which, like, you know, there's one aspect of her looking right at the camera that is just implying how crazy she is. Maybe she's even so crazy that she's broken the fourth wall, you know? But also, like, maybe there's, like, a slight implication.
She's seeing the non-diegetic camera because she's so...
right. She's entered a new plane.
Exactly.
But, like, maybe there's a bit of an implication to the audience of, like, you, the consumer, you've sucked the blood of all of these people and made
you did this. You made me this way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know if it's doing it that hard, but I feel like there's like
I think that's in there.
There's like a bit of an angle of it of like, you know, so much of this movie is about like celebrity, about like the idea of celebrity, and the movie ends with her like mind breaking and addressing the audience of people who are the people who make someone a celebrity.
Think regardless of how this movie sort of feels about Hollywood, I think it is very critical of the idea of celebrity. I think it is very, like, celebrity as, like, a thing is bad.
I mean, you could consider the movie to say that, like, celebrity is the thing that broke her.
Yes. Yeah. What a good movie.
Yeah.
There's also, like, there is definitely, I think this movie, one of the reasons why it's so good is because it has so much layers and it's got so much going on thematically, and it's also just, like, very well written, great casting, performances, yada, yada, yada. I think something we haven't really touched on is, like, I think this movie is also feels like it is about a sort of, like, generational shift. There was, like, very much, there was kind of the idea of, like, old Hollywood, and there's this, like, the youth, right? And like Joe Gillis and the sort of he's like going to, like, Hollywood parties where everyone's young, and it has much more of a kind of, like, it's the 50s, young people. We're in showbiz too.
Our bridge tournaments.
Yeah. Well, no one's playing bridge anymore. It's the 50s.
They're drinking malts and going to the diner.
Exactly. But, like, yeah, there's some of that in there too, which I think is again, I don't know necessarily how much I have to say about that, or, like, what the movie's trying to say about it necessarily. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a thesis there.
Well, I mean, I think there's the difference in generational outlooks that is kind of being reflected also in the difference between sound and silent film. And, like, the way of being of those different people. Age is definitely a thing that this has on its mind in a very big way. And I think also of, like, through much of the second half of the movie, she's under a false assumption that Cecil B. DeMille read her script, likes it, and wants to make her movie. And so she's, like, going through this, like, regimen of, like, making herself young, with, like, plastic surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother kind of can of worms that this movie opens. And this movie has, like, so much sympathy for, like, women who, not just Hollywood will chew you up and spit you out as a generic thing, but, like, Hollywood does not give a shit about women once they're over, like, a certain age, right?
Yeah.
And, like, the only way that you can matter is to be young. And her mind is broken enough that she's just like, I must become young,
Right. That's her reaction to it.
Yeah.
You get the sense, if Norma Desmond was not as delusional, she probably could still have a thriving career in the pictures if her ego would get out of the way.